Hi, Professor Kalamanis here. So in this video we're going to talk about writing process and how to present and produce college level responses. So this is primarily focusing on the essay. The slideshow is going to talk about 3 levels of reading: literal, inferential, and evaluative. And essays have an evaluation and an argument. So we're using this metaphor of the tree. In this slide, you can see that there are 2 indications here, right? What's holding up the tree is the thesis, and it brings it all the way up to the essay. So bringing up all of life on the project. So the pre-writing and your homework assignments are all down here in the roots. This has all been assigned to you by your professor. Then you're going to build something or grow something, which is the tree. The thesis is the evaluative response, right? This is what you have written after you've done a couple of different levels of reading. So I'm going to talk about those levels of reading. All right, so here we look at this one, right? We have the essay. We have outside sources. We have inferential analysis. We have summary information. And then staying connected. So let's start with some of the outside sources, right? This was given to you by your instructor, whether it was something to read, whether it was something to watch, to listen to. So you're going to kind of start with these outside sources. Then you find your own. Usually your instructor will ask you to find some outside sources. So outside sources should be limited to 20% of your paper. And you definitely want to think about when you're including them, you're going to paraphrase. So that's the best. And we've done that a few times. We've asked you to paraphrase over the years, whether you did it in high school or you did it on your entrance exam to get into college, that kind of thing. When we go back to this image, right, we sort of think about, here are the outside sources. And then we want to kind of think about, that's what they say, right? What did they say? Everything else is kind of like, what am I saying, right? So your thesis is talking about, what do I say? What do I see? What did I see, which was definitely on the lines? What did I see that was between the lines? And then this part of your paper is what's beyond the lines. So we sort of can see, if we're looking down, what is it that you're saying on the topic? Then consider what's between the lines. What do I think about what they say, right? What's implied? That's over here. And remember to keep it all connected. So a lot of times what students do is they forget to connect it all. So we definitely want to think about talking about what did they say on the most basic level, and that is summarizing. And that's what you did in high school. So that's a skill that you came with. Now let's look at summarizing, right? What needs to happen in the college paper when you summarize? You have to remember to say, who are you talking about? What's the author's name? What's the title of the article or the essay or the video? And what was the main point? You're going to include that. That's before you go into what you think about it, which is your inferential thinking, right? Here's where we make judgments. Here's where we kind of make these connections, what's between the lines. So there's a slight difference between what you read and what you thought about it. You have to sometimes tell us what you read before you go into what you thought about it. So students sometimes will put at the end of their paper the citation, but you forget to say in the body of the text, Graff said this, or Rose said this, or Dr. King said this. So we want to remember to do that because you're losing the connection. So let's just look at it one more time. How do we keep it all connected? We bring it all together in this tree, right? Again, we have the essay. We start with summarizing. We do this inferential analysis. These are all the outside sources, and remembering to keep it all connected. So it all goes back to this central thesis, this thing that's holding up your paper, what your paper is discussing. Present your ideas in an objective way, but sometimes your bias might come through. So let's look at staying connected, right? This can be so hard for college students because we're evaluating, because we're thinking about how to move past summarizing, because we're responding to what somebody has said. So it's not possible for you to be a robot. We're not asking you to be a robot. We want you to evaluate. So that's what you're doing. You're presenting more than one side, more than two sides, sometimes talking about different writers and their expressions on these topics. All right, so let's look at this again, right? Here we have it. It all sort of comes together. The thesis pulls all the way up to the top, and remember to come back to your thesis. The trunk or the main idea is what's holding up the essays. Students are expected to present many sides to a conversation or topic. Remember to go back to your argument. You should be able to say, my thesis is this, my idea is this. When we pull it together, we want to remember that this is difficult for students. You have to move past summarizing. You want to present your ideas in the third person, and sometimes you're going to talk about your own experience. So that's when it starts to get a little bit more interesting for students in the college classroom. Let's look at this now. So here are the two that we haven't talked about, right? Writing evidence, logical proofs. Now, I think that you guys know how to do this really well. This is what you've done all along. But here we have anecdotal information, right? So that's where you put a little bit of yourself in the essay. So remember, you're not a robot. Remember to kind of bring it all together. We're going to just look at it all together now, one last time, right? All these different elements. The summary, your story, some inferential analysis, remembering to stay connected to your main idea, using evidence and outside sources, and it all comes together in this wonderful thesis and essay. So good luck out there. See you next time.